watching out for you. This is KEZI 9 News at 11.
A man now convicted of 2 murders, sentenced to death for his crimes. Thanks for staying up with us tonight. I'm Brian Richardson. A jury returned a death sentence today for David Ray Taylor. The reaction, our top story here at 11. Our cameras weren't allowed inside the courtroom today, but there were a lot of hugs and tears from the victim's family. 22-year-old Celestino Gutierrez after the jury handed down that sentence. The jury believes Taylor is a continuing threat to society. Investigators say Taylor and 2 accomplices lured Gutierrez from a bar, tortured and killed him, all so they could steal his car for a bank robbery back in 2012. Taylor was convicted last week on 3 counts of aggravated murder and 1 count of intentional murder. While Taylor has been sentenced to death, he may never be executed. That's because Governor John Kitzhaber has put a halt to executions in the state of Oregon. KEZI 9 News producer Hurwitz spoke with the U of O law professor to break down both sides of this debate. She's live in Eugene. Sarah?
Well, earlier this afternoon, jurors decided David Ray Taylor's fate, and his death penalty sentence will land him on a list of more than 30 inmates on death row, a place that some in this state feel no one belongs. In 2011, Governor John Kitzhaber announced no lethal injection would take place under his watch.
In the last 20 years, with the advent of forensic DNA analysis, we've had now hundreds of exonerations of innocent people in the United States. So I imagine one of the things that motivated it was a concern that we might have innocent people on our death row.
University of Oregon law professor Carrie Leonetti says the decision by Governor Kitzhaber was twofold: potential innocence and concerns about how much it was costing the state.
Some of the costs come from the proceedings themselves. So typically the actual time that it takes to do a sentencing proceeding, even for somebody who had pleaded guilty in a death penalty case, takes weeks or months as opposed to hours in a non-capital sentencing proceeding.
Leonetti says during death penalty cases, there's typically multiple defense attorneys and multiple prosecutors, meaning more legal fees. The appeals process in capital punishment cases can span years, and Leonetti says once convicted, death row itself is expensive.
It's a higher security facility, right? So they have to have 24-hour day suicide watch. I think people don't share cells typically in death row.
And that's where the debate lies. Should the death penalty exist at all?
On one end, there are people who feel very strongly at a very, I guess what I would call retributionist level in favor of the death penalty. I think there's probably an equally sizable group of people at the opposite end of the spectrum who feel very strongly for moral reasons against the death penalty.
Leonetti says in Oregon and across the country, there's a middle ground of people who've emerged who don't have strong feelings either way, but feel it might be too costly. And in Taylor's case, the victim's brother told us that it's Governor Kitzhaber's responsibility to carry this sentence through. He also said if one good thing comes out of this tragedy is that the state honors the voters' decision to follow through on the death penalty. Live in Eugene, Sarah Hurwitz, KEZI 9 News.